Please listen carefully.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hypothetical Siblings podcast. My name is Nick.
And my name's Lainie.
And Lainie.
And Nick.
How was the past 7 days of your life? The past 168 hours.
Like, did you just do that?
Yeah.
Or did you know it?
I think I knew it, but also...
Because 7
times 20
is 140, and then 7
plus
times
28.
8 is plus... Oh, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I almost said plus 56.
You're supposed to be the math kid. What the hell?
Well, I was doing 7 times 8 for literally no reason.
Alright.
28 hours per day.
Is this what you were doing with the last 7 days of your life?
What?
Dumb math.
Dumb math. Yeah.
Math is always dumb. Let's be
Don't
honest.
diss math!
Math is garbage.
Don't diss math.
That's why I was going to say psychology, not psychology. That's why physics is garbage too, because it's just math.
Physics is garbage,
Yeah.
but not because of math, because of fucking science.
You leave science out of this
Fuck
conversation.
science!
You heard it here first, folks. Lainie does not approve of science. She is a flat earther. Actually, no, she's gone past the flat earth to not yet the time cube,
Cube Earth.
but the Dyson sphere.
I believe that gravity is pushing me down. Doesn't feel so much like a pull.
Alright. Alright.
I believe that dinosaurs didn't exist. Fuck you, Ross Geller. Sorry, we were just watching Friends.
We were.
It's relevant.
That's a real thing.
I just hate Ross.
Yep.
Don't hate David Schwimmer if you're listening to this. Which...
If David Schwimmer listened to our podcast, I would be over the moon. Don't get me wrong. I definitely wouldn't prefer David Schwimmer as a celebrity to be listening to our podcast.
Don't fucking say that.
What do you mean don't say that?
He's gonna be hurt.
There's nothing against him.
He's gonna be hurt.
He is perfectly adequate as an actor.
I like how he talks.
Yeah, he does have kind of like a whoa, you know? Right?
That sounded like fucking wow, but like,
But like
in like
sad.
low. Oh my god.
That's why we silenced the phone before the podcast.
Yeah. Silence the phone. Pijone.
Are you gonna...
Oh, I forgot you asked me.
Your
how
week?
I was
Yeah,
gonna-
the way that this podcast always starts.
Well, you and our parents went out of town.
Yeah, but I'll talk about that.
No, I know. I was just saying it because...
I'll talk about my part, thank you.
You know what? No, I'm gonna fucking talk about your part. Fuck you.
Or should we just explain each other's weeks? That'd be a nightmare because I don't know what the fuck you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Be
You
like,
don't-
no,
you
she
don't
probably
know
got
me.
drunk at some point.
Twice.
Good.
Yep, so they went out of town, and I could not because people can't cover my shifts. So I...
They went without you?
What?
Oh, we
no,
went.
you
Okay.
went without. Yeah.
I see, yes.
So
we are the people
I
who went without you.
had some people over, and got drunk. And then 2 nights later, I went into the woods and got drunk.
Nice.
Which is...
Very nice.
very nice.
So did you actually, because this is the trip that happens every summer. So this is the first summer that I was in no way partaking in the trip. How did it go, minus my presence?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't remember a lot of it. I heard somebody say fuck who I've never heard say fuck before, so that was great.
Alright.
I sang In the Arms of the Angels with one of our friends while zooming in on a White Claw box being on fire. I took a 2-second Snapchat video of just my face zooming in, and
Did you?
I stomped on a bunch of Ritz crackers for no reason.
But you found the place?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was, I felt, my primary duty was A, navigation. B, I felt like my duty was to make sure that people knew how to put up a fucking tent.
Right.
You know.
The tent went up super easy. There was 9 people sleeping in it, though.
Did you take the one that has 2 rooms?
The one that we took camping.
Yeah, the blackout tent.
With the green and blue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone was like, this isn't the one you brought last year.
It's not.
Oh. Well, then I'm
it's
stupid.
It's definitely not.
I thought that it was, and I was
no,
like...
we got that tent after the trip last year.
Okay.
That or parents didn't want us taking the nice tent, which I can understand.
Is valid,
yeah.
But 9 people was a little bit of a tight...
Yeah, a little bit, huh?
Squid?
Squid. Definitely a tight squid.
To combine squeeze and fit.
It's a tight squid. I don't know what to tell you.
I do that shit a lot, but not often is it as hilarious as squid.
Well, you gotta get squits, bro. Alright, she's crying. Good. That's how you know it's a good podcast, is Lainie cries.
And one of the nights I already told you this story, but I think it might be worth telling.
Okay. I don't even know what story you're about to tell, so yeah.
You will. So we ordered porta subs from DoorDash on the first night you guys were out of town.
Okay.
And it was just like 4 of us in total just chilling at the house.
Okay. Oh, yes.
And it didn't it was so late. Like,
how late was it?
What is this, fucking match game?
Yeah, exactly.
No, Alec Baldwin.
I could be Alec Baldwin.
You could, actually. But so it's like 10 minutes past the time of delivery, and that would be kind of fine, but the GPS wasn't working, and so it looked like he hadn't even gone to the store to get the porta subs yet. So we text him and we're like, hey, what's up? Just needing an explanation. And he said, oh yeah, DoorDash didn't let me cancel the order, and the GPS wasn't working to know where your house was, so I just am not doing it. And we said, what the fuck? So we called porta subs and we're like, did you get the order? And they said, oh yeah, we totally did. I said, can I come pick it up right now or like whenever? And the guy on the phone says, yeah, if you get here before 9. It's like fucking 8:55. Porta subs is like, what?
I mean, it's a casual, like 7-minute drive.
Yeah.
Like, it's tight.
Yeah. And so we fucking run out the door. Our little fucking dog, Diego, also runs out the door.
He's coming.
We're trying to corral him back into the house while getting in the car to make it to fucking
him and
porta
threw him in
subs.
the car. Like, we're going.
We're going.
You came with, shitter.
So we got him in the car. We're going to porta subs. We literally get there at 8:59. And I fucking throw open this door. And I'm like, hi. And the guy walks over the counter. It's some fucking guy I knew in high school. I was like, bruh, hello. You really said I'm getting the fuck out of here at 9 no matter what, asshole. I said.
But talking to him on the phone, you didn't recognize him?
No.
Because it just has regular man voice or something?
Yeah, and also it wasn't like a friend.
It was just like a guy.
Like a guy I knew who's friendly.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we got the porta subs though. And I'm so happy we did because I fucking demolished that sandwich. Mm-hmm. Record time. Pie eating contest. Ate it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Other than that, I was just watching Criminal Minds on repeat because that's all I ever fucking do.
Good.
And also, my mom and I started watching our mom.
Our mother. We do share her.
Started watching a show called The Alienist.
Okay.
Which is like an HBO show about a serial killer in the 1800s. Mm. Super fucking interesting. Pretty gory though, and it's on HBO, so like.
It's tit gore.
Not yet. Oh, actually, yes.
See, we know.
Yeah.
As long as it's HBO, there will be titties and there will be gore.
Right. So, would recommend though. Do you ever remember? I don't know who he fucking plays in the MCU universe, but he's like a bad guy in it, and he has a German accent. He's one of Captain America's villains. I'm pretty sure.
He's the Nazi.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Red Skull.
Nope.
All right. Then no.
Different guy. I think his name might be Rumlow, but that's like.
No, that feels like a thing.
I know that's an evil guy, but I just don't know which one.
It's the right one.
Is.
All right, well, it's one of them.
Right, and he's German, so that's cool. I like hearing him talk in German. I think it's cool.
German is pretty rad.
Da.
Wow.
Ciao. Yeah, just watching stuff though. What about you, Borther?
Well, before we get into my half of the week, we're actually going to take a brief intermission. So, thank you, everyone. We'll be back in just a moment. All right. Sorry about that, folks. I mean, for those of you listening to the podcast, which is kind of the only... I mean, there's YouTube, but it's not live. So, nothing really happened for those of you listening to this. Yeah. Anyway, my week, the part that my sister tried to steal from me earlier, my parents and aunt, uncle, and 2 cousins went on a... Trip, yeah. It's like a fishing trip, I guess, is basically the main purpose of it. But it's a camping trip, fishing trip.
Porpoise. So
on and so forth. We went to a place that is on the other side of the state. Takes 6 hours to get there. But the big deal with that place, why people go there, is because the fishing is just insane. Absolutely just manic. Like, throw a lure in, get a bite every time you cast, right? Now, I've been hearing about this place for probably 8 years, something like that. And it just so happened that, because our aunt and uncle and cousins used to go relatively frequently, and every time they would go, our schedules just wouldn't line up. So I was never able to go with them, and I just got to hear how awesome this place was. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't think that it really could live up to my expectation of it. Because you get this thing built up in your head for so long that how is it supposed to, how is the reality of the thing supposed to live up to your imagination? Especially someone like me who has a fucking crazy imagination.
Well, and especially when it starts so young, because you're a kid.
Right, and so it gets blown way the fuck out of proportion. I'm here to tell you that it was not blown out of proportion. So we got there on Thursday evening, fished Friday morning, Friday evening, Saturday morning, and Sunday morning. Over those 4 trips, those 4, forays, because it's a marsh is what it is. Like, it's a swamp, basically.
Like in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, kind of. But more like a wetland. Like, it's pretty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does it have the corn dogs?
Yes. All over the place.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But over those 4 sessions, I personally caught somewhere along the lines of 150 fish. Like, just ridiculous numbers, right? I was also responsible for catching the 2 biggest fish and the smallest fish, so really I feel like I am the victor in regards to the trip.
Yeah.
But super awesome time. It was crazy pretty out there between the wetlands and the super jagged mountains that you're, sleeping at the base of and everything like that. It was good to get away from town, I find myself, as I get older, I need to get out more, right? For whatever reason. I think I've turned into more of an extroverted, like, let's go do a thing, as opposed to I can sit here and play video games 7 days a week and have no issues, But yeah, holy crap. I mean, just an amazing trip. And thanks to all those family members involved for making it what it was. But yeah, that was super crazy. Last night, I got wasted with a bunch of friends. That was fun. Nothing really to write home about on that one, I guess. Just that it happened. Yeah.
Is it because you also don't remember?
No, I do remember.
Oh.
I that's what was shocking to me about listening to you say that, is I have never had a night that I cannot at least relatively clearly remember. Right? Like, I've never been blackout drunk.
Well, I wasn't just drunk, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do get what you're saying. You fucking degenerate. The other big thing, not really, I don't know if it's a big thing. I don't know.
If it's what I think, then it's probably not.
All right.
I don't think, it's a good thing.
Is it a good thing?
But I think so.
Okay.
I forget. I hope we're talking about the same thing.
But I downloaded an app called Bumble. And for those of you who don't know, Bumble is a dating app kind of similar to Tinder. But don't use Tinder because fuck Facebook.
Yeah, fuck Facebook.
But what's cool about Bumble is that from what I remember of using Tinder like 4 years ago, right? Bumble is cool because it's a lot more in depth in terms of what information you put of yourself, and I'm not talking like birthday and shit like that. It's more like how frequently do you use alcohol, cannabis, nicotine, right? And what religion are you? How do you identify? A bunch of stuff like that. And it even goes into like there's an option. I don't know what but it's all icons, right? So there's one that's a baby bottle, and it says don't want someday, have and want more, have and don't want more.
Oh, like kids?
Like babies, yeah, like kids. And I'm like, that's fucking hilarious, but good.
Right.
The other thing it has is what you are looking for, and it's I don't know yet, something casual, choose to not respond, or just flat out relationship, right? And that's cool too, because you get to see like, so you don't have to say it explicitly in your little blurb or whatever it is. You could just click a button and everyone knows what's going on. It is a lot more money grabby than I remember Tinder being all that time ago, because to access certain features, so like if you're swiping really fast, because it's the whole swipe left, swipe right shit, right? If you're swiping really fast and you swipe and then it's not the way you think about it, you're like, I want to go back. There's a back button you can do for $2.99.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Or there's a spotlight that you can put on your account that makes you pop up more often. I don't really know how it works. That you can subscribe to for $10 a week.
Jeez.
And there's all sorts of stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, the function of the app outside of that is fine.
Right.
But the whole time it's just poking you, be like,
spend money though.
There's one where because it's bees, it's Bumble. You're right. And there's your beeline, which is people who have liked you, but you don't know who they are, and it'll show you the blurred out faces. It's like, hey man, if you pay a little bit of money, we'll let you know who they are.
Ah, shit.
And then you can go to their specific profiles and choose to like or not like them. Yeah. But again, not paying anything. It's just like a mosaic kind of thing of like, there's people. And it'll tell you how many people too.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, shit's wild. But pretty interesting getting back into that. You just can't help but laugh at some of that shit, right? Where you're like, you see the red flag is the first thing that pops up, and you're like, oh, that's a fear right there. That's a danger.
Danger.
Exactly. But fun just talking to people and getting into the groove again. I don't like the idea of online dating, right? Because I think it's too convenient and that people are not dedicated to the idea. I definitely don't think I'm looking for like a relationship at this point.
Just something you said,
go on a couple dates.
Groove.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get back up on that horse, right?
Right.
Yeah. So fun. Kind of neat. Besides that, nothing really. Kind of starting to get geared up to go back to school. I found out that all of my classes are once again online.
Me too. Akachow.
And so I don't know if that means that I'm not. I don't think it means that I'm not going. I think I'm going to go. It's just how hard I'm going to go. How many credits? How many classes? Because all of my classes, except for I think one of the 5 that I'm signed up for right now, have a lab associated with them.
That's so fucked.
Right. So there's some teachers that are like, okay, the lab will be less frequent, but still in person. And some teachers are like, it's just a dry lab. You're not doing shit. I'll send you a thing on the computer.
Fuck dry labs.
Fuck dry labs.
Lab.
Well, just trying to be wet, you know?
I'm trying to get
wet. So, yeah. To be decided at that point.
I also... So, 5... classes is technically full time.
I gotta see if I bought a parking permit.
I did not.
I might have. I might need to go get my money back for that shit.
Yeah. But so 5 classes is full time, right? It might be less than that even.
No. It's 5 classes, assuming that each of the classes is 3 credits.
Right.
15 credits is what is considered
because their
full-time.
whole thing is 15 to finish or whatever. In 4 years.
30 to 4 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Fucking whatever.
Some big push.
Yeah. So, I'm for sure not doing 2 classes. I just have to decide if I'm doing 3 classes or 2 classes. Because I was going to not do school at all, but one of the professors that I had last semester for Intro to Criminal Justice, same one as you did, and she is awesome. And so I feel fairly confident that I can still take her class and do well in it, even though it's online. Because I've already done it.
Right.
And then the other two are just a little bit more shots in the dark, so I have to decide if I want to do both or whatever.
Yeah.
But our parents, our aunt and uncle, have both offered me jobs for the winter.
Okay.
Being a receptionist. Well, parents might be a receptionist. They just might make me do shit work.
They might make you do shit work, but that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, they have a receptionist, so why would you be the receptionist?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then at our uncle's place of work,
yes.
I'm either going to also be a receptionist or a sterilizer. Which,
like you just put the thing in the machine that sterilizes it?
I think so.
I mean, sounds like shit work, but...
Yeah.
Alright.
Mom told me I might get scrubs.
That's cool.
If I do that.
Fuck yeah.
Fucking
Absolutely scrubs.
Me wearing scrubs.
You are what you wear.
Ka-chow, doctor. I am doctor.
I am doctor. You're wearing a doctor? Some Hannibal Lecter shit. Was that the guy that ate people or the skin one?
No, that's the guy... I can't remember if that's his name in...
I don't know what the fuck. The
in
one that
Silence
wears
of the
skin.
Lambs.
I've never seen the movie.
Really? I love it. Let's watch it. What are you doing?
I have to go do things.
Fuck you.
I have to go to work tonight.
See, that's why I was confused. That was also crazy. I clapped and it...
Why were you confused?
Because you were like, I kind of have to work. I kind of don't.
Well, so we have something that is called PK.
PT. Oh.
PT. PK, yeah, no. Where it's like we go in and it lasts like an hour, which is shitty. But I mean, it's fine because I live right next to where I work.
Right. And also, is it cool sometimes?
It is. It can be. Like the other day, a couple weeks ago at this point, we got to go up on the roof with a bunch of the super expensive binoculars and shit and just look through them because it's way different looking at them outside than it is inside. And so we were all on the roof looking over at the water park.
That's so cool.
It was pretty rad.
That is
but then
so
sometimes they're like, sit and watch this 50-minute video about reloading presses. And it's just the driest, just nothing old man, just like, well, the Dillon 750 XL reloading press is a progressive press. Like, it's just fitness gram pacer test level, like, bullshit.
That's hilarious.
Oh my god.
The fitness gram pacer test.
Yeah, correct.
We were watching how it's made marbles at work the other day because it was so fucking slow.
Wow.
Also, how cool.
Cat's eyes.
Shout out to fucking marbles.
Oh.
Oh.
Just individual marbles?
Just any marbles.
You ever watched marble racing?
No, but I heard it got on.
It goes hard.
The Ocho.
It goes hard. Absolutely it does. Like, if you have never been at a party, you get a couple drinks in you and some fucker turns on marble racing. If you could do that, start putting money down on that shit. Ooh. Absolutely.
See, I would feel like I would do something stupid, like bet on the blue one every time.
Yeah. But that's the same thing at horse racing, right?
I guess.
And like, except horse racing, they're like, it was bred through such and such line, and it's this type of horse and shit like that. Whereas this one's just like, it's a blue marble.
It's a blue marble.
Yeah, correct.
It's like, I was going to reveal a secret about my strategy for rock, paper, scissors, but I'm not going to so that I don't lose all the time.
To all of the, 60 people that listen to us or whatever it is.
Yeah. There are some people that I play rock, paper, scissors with that are listening.
That's true.
They
That's
cannot
fair.
know my strats.
Gotta protect the rock, paper, scissors strats.
Yeah, you betcha.
Anyway, should we get into the thing that we're supposed to be talking about?
Yeah.
Because we're over time currently.
Tell them what we're supposed to be talking about.
Well, what we're going to talk about this week is the nuclear apocalypse. And do you want to talk about how it happens? Or like what happens? Or are we just going straight into it happened and we're living now?
I don't know. Let's talk about fucking everything. What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so here's the thing. If it's nukes going off, they're talking population centers, right?
Right.
So
correct.
places like LA, New York, Vegas,
Florida?
Houston. Florida is a state.
Well, I know, but like Orlando? Or like Miami?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, just big because they're trying to do human and number damage.
Definitely do LA and New York.
Yeah, that's the big one.
For sure.
Right. So let's assume that Because here's the thing. It's very... I am of the opinion that it's a very Cold War type of situation that we still live in.
Correct.
Where it's mutually assured destruction.
Right.
Where someone starts sending them, and everyone's going to start sending them, right? So this isn't a situation where we get nuked, and then the Russians start marching down the street, right? So let's say we get nuked, and... Because our area, I don't think would be hit.
No.
Right.
We might be a little bit close and get some of the damage. Like, I don't know how
San
far
Francisco.
radiation... Yeah.
It literally depends on the wind.
On the wind?
It flows on the wind, yeah.
Ah, shit.
Like,
because we talked about how it was like dust, kind of, right?
Right. So here's the thing is, if that many nukes go off, there's so much shit that gets kicked up into the atmosphere that we get what is called a nuclear winter.
Right.
And
I've heard of this.
So do you know what this is?
No, but I've heard of it.
Basically, the atmosphere is so obscured, and it stays obscured for so long, it enters you into a permanent winter because the sun cannot hit the ground.
Ah, shit.
Right. So days are gray, nights are like blackest black. Yeah. Like ink black. So the thing that I want to bring up, because of course you all know me as the video game guy on this podcast, because that's where I pull all of my references from, apparently. But there is a series called the Metro series. And the Metro series is about a post-nuclear war Russia where the surface is so fucked, everyone lives in the subway.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically the subway.
Okay.
Because there's room, it's all connected, right? And you can go above ground for short periods of time, but you have to have like some kind of rudimentary protective gear. Exactly. Like filters in your mask and shit like that.
Yeah.
I think that in the big cities, those people that did survive would function similarly. That underground is the place to be, because if we go up, you just melt.
New York.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just melt.
You just melt.
Yeah.
Whereas out here, I think it turns into more of like a Mad Max, right?
Yep.
Where it's all about nomadic kind of situation, especially in the desert that we live. There's not a lot of place to sit and just be. So you kind of have to jump place to place in order to find food, in order to find water, and then your shelter is the thing that you're taking with you. Probably cars, motorcycles. Actually, I think it'll probably be motorcycles over cars because they're so much more fuel efficient.
Yeah, and also just like speed and fitting through shit and...
True.
I mean...
Ease of access.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I think that's about what it would be. So we can start talking about what life looks like in a subway tunnel, right?
Fucking savage as fuck,
exactly.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there would be people who are trying to do the whole, like, let's restart, like, a system of some kind.
Society.
A society, yeah, for sure. But there's just going to be a fucking ton of people who are grieving, who, I mean, everyone is
going
traumatized.
fucking crazy, yeah. That they're like, world's over, right. I'm in charge, and I'm going to eat this baby.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the crime rates, I mean, everyone's just doing anything, because why the fuck not? And maybe over time, there's some semblance of a society of rules of whatever. There might be rules, like, you know, just like people make rules. I feel like that happens when a bunch of people get together, like, okay, we can't do this. But there's always going to be people who break that, especially in that situation.
Right.
And just, like, the darkness of it all, too.
So, people... Presumably, assuming that, again, that there was some kind of ability to get... Because at first it would be like dudes just in rags taped up in duct tape. Like, hey, go up there and get something, right? And from what I understand, because you can't grow food underground without a shit ton of light, right? Light is expensive in terms of resources, right? And you also have to have all the proper equipment. Usually it's some kind of generator. And having that generator means... gasoline fumes, which you can't use underground, right? Or you have to have some type of ventilation system, which you don't really want because radiation. So I don't think you can grow crops. I think you can grow mushrooms and like fungus and stuff like that. You can breed and or catch rats, right? Because they're already in there, and presumably breed quickly enough that you can feed a, you know, certain population.
Yeah.
And then drink water from like leaking out of pipes and shit. Like, I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
So, long story short, the cities are fucked. And in places like LA where you don't have as pervasive, I think, of a subway system,
Right.
do you just live under rubble? Right? Like, well, yeah.
Or are you just fucking dead?
Yeah, you just big toast.
Big toast.
Big toast.
Like underground parking structures, maybe.
There you go.
They're
But
pretty
again,
open.
they're... Yeah. Yeah. It's not great either way. Long story short, it's not great. Like, I don't think we've told the story of us being in Hawaii back in 2018.
No, I was literally just thinking about
So
that.
do you want to...
Yeah, so back in 2018, like Mick was about to say, it's the day we're supposed to leave from Hawaii. We've been there for probably 5 days, maybe a week. And I'm waking up slow in our hotel room with our parents. And all of a sudden, our phones go off. Nick is not in the room. He is on the beach fishing. And our phones get this alert that says, fucking warning, incoming ballistic missile attack, find shelter, find cover. And we're really freaked out, but also, I think we just didn't accept that it was happening. All three of us we turned on the news and just started flipping channels. Because we're like, if it's on our phones, it's going to be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere on the news.
That's the reason that they use the phones, though, is that it's the quickest way to get it. It takes
Right.
time to set up a news broadcast, you fucking chimps.
And then I went out onto the balcony and just started watching people sprint across the parking lot.
Yeah.
Trying to get into the building. And we're basically doing nothing. Except I'm texting some people, we're watching the news, we're looking out on the balcony. Turns out it wasn't real, as you probably all know, and someone got big fucking fired that day, and it somehow got sent by mistake. But...
Or, if you're a conspiracy theorist, one did get shot, and then it got shot down.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I would like to tell my story, my, reason of events, or whatever it is, version of events.
Nick's is much funnier.
So, I'm probably... I think it was 1 3/4 miles or something from the hotel, and I'm fishing at the end of a abandoned pier, so you have to go around a chain link fence and shit like this, right? And it's 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, whatever it is, and I'm sitting there fishing, just having a grand old time. And same thing, my phone buzzes, but it does it's the Amber Alert noise, for those of you who know what that is. And I'm like, that's fucking weird. And I look at my phone, it says, ICBM inbound, take cover immediately, and basically something to the effect of, you have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, shit. And I'm like, because my anxiety immediately kicks into overdrive, and I'm like, that's not enough time.
Right.
To do whatever, right? And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's some weird hack that my phone got, because I'm the only person out there. Let me just put my stuff down, we'll hide it in the rocks, I'll go back to shore, ask some, couple walking by. So I'm still heart's beating, but I walk up to this older couple, probably mid-50s, late 50s, something like that. And I was like, hey, I don't mean to bother you folks, but I just got this really weird notification on my phone. I just didn't know if you got the same thing, and I show it to them. And again, all the people that I'm seeing walk are just walking, right? They're just cruising like it's nothing. So the guy takes the phone, he looks at it and takes his phone out of his pocket, without handing my phone back to me. Takes his phone out of his pocket, looks at it, slams it back in his pocket, shoves my phone my own way, grabs his wife's hand, and they take off fucking running. And I'm like, oh shit, because it's real now. And then you start hearing the brr, brr, brr of everyone looking at their phones, and they all start running too. I'm like, well, fuck, because I'm far enough away that I'm like, I don't know those of you out there who can run 2 miles in 15 minutes, but I sure as shit can't, and definitely not in flip-flops. So I start jogging as best as I can, but A, I'm in flip-flops, and, well, A, I'm out of fucking shape, and B, I'm in flip-flops, and I'm getting shin splints, right? And so I realize I'm not making it back to my family if this is the end, right? So I slow down, and I'm, power walking, basically, because I'm like, we still want to get there with some kind of speed, but what are you going to do, right? And as I'm walking, I'm just seeing all these, weirdly human moments happening, right? Of how everyone is dealing with what they presume to be their own death that has now been put on a literal fucking clock, right? So I see everything from the young men and women that are running together screaming, "We have to find the kids." I'm seeing the older couple just sit down on a bench and wait. I'm seeing my personal favorite, the guy on the beach by himself who already presumably was drinking a beer at 8 in the morning, pick up his phone, look at it, toss his phone down, swig the last part of his beer, and whip the bottle into the ocean. And then as I'm kind of walking and looking all hurried, there's this woman that's, again, probably like mid to late 40s, right? She's just cruising, just walking. She's going back to the same hotel, and she's like, and I was like, yeah, it's just pretty fucking crazy, hun. She can tell I'm freaked out, but she's like, hey, way I see it, it's as good a day to die as any other. And there's this weird, like, her being so okay with it gave me, like, a certain peace about it that I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Because if we're dying, why die like a rat, right? Just scurrying around and being scared. Like, why not just hang out? Because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So I'm still walking back to the hotel now in the company of this woman. And as we're going, there's people that were, like, asking directions and shit like that. And we're pointing them as best we can because it's not like we know the area. But you're still hearing cars blow through red lights and horns, and we're watching parents put their kids in, like, rain gutters and shit like that. And I get back to the hotel, by which time, I'll have you know, because it probably took me, like, 20 minutes. And I was like, all right, well, we're not dead, so I'm probably good. And I get back to the hotel, and everyone's freaking out in the lobby, and I finally have service, and I call Mom. Oh, yeah, we're just sitting in the hotel room watching the news. I was so angry that the three of you sat and were just like, it sounds fake. And we're just all three of you together able to just deny that and have me just run through that hellscape that I just ran through with my fucking cheeseburger sweat coming down my man tits and my back, right? And I get up to the hotel room. Meanwhile, the family we were there with was all prepared. They had filled the bathtub with water and thrown the mattress on top of it, and they were all in the bathroom hunkered down. And y'all just were like, it's fake. Fucking full confidence in buffoonery. Anyways, that was a lot of talking that I just did.
Also, for those of you who can't see me, which is everyone, it made me cry.
Yeah, Lainie's crying, but that's fine. Again, like I said, it's not a good podcast unless Lainie cries. But
well, you didn't tell us that whole story.
What do you mean?
You didn't tell us that story. You told us about the guy who you asked about his phone, and you told us about the guy who whipped his beer into the ocean, and that's it.
Oh, I haven't told you any of the rest of it.
No.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I said it was funny, and then it wasn't funny.
So, yeah, that was a really long anecdote. But basically, we know what it is to be in that panic. Or at least maybe I do. You were sitting there like, if I get blown the fuck up, whatever. You know?
Well, and I was trying to rationalize everything, because I was like, I think that it was just more denial than, like, acceptance.
No, I think all three of you were just in full-blown, like, we're not gonna die.
Like, that doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
You know, and I was texting people, and I told people I loved them and stuff still. Just be like, hey, because, like, what do you do? If it hits where you are, you're dead, no matter what.
Right, so that was my thing, is, like, do I get on my phone and start sending texts? And that was kind of my first thought, and then I didn't have service, right? And so I was like, well, if I can't do that, I can't tell my girlfriend at the time, I can't tell any extended family. I literally have only the 7 other people on this island that know me. Coincidentally, there was another person I knew on the island at the time, but we didn't know she was there. And I have to get back to him, right? And so I needed to run a 7-minute mile in flip-flops. And it was just a no-go.
Right.
Because who the fuck, right? So, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just pure tragedy. Like,
right.
You cannot...
Because what do you do?
Get away from it. You can't.
Well, and there's all the stories you read afterwards about people hiding in, like, they walk up to, like, people's garages that are kind of open, and they're like, hey, can I hang out here? Because, again, you know, or, like, people getting into sheds and stuff like that, and then coming out to the family looking at the shed like, what fucking crazy maniac just hid in our shed, you know?
Right. Well, because it's like, no matter where you go, depending on where the nuke hits, you cannot get away from it. We were on, like, the 7th floor. The other family we were with was on the 3rd floor. people were going, like, down to the parking garage. But I'm like, that doesn't help. Like, everything's just fucking blown. You know what I mean? Like, if you just go to the parking garage, you're going to be crushed by everything, right? I mean,
if the building comes down.
Right.
But again, you guys were on the 7th floor.
Right.
Our family members were on, I think, the 14th.
No, I said 3rd. They were lower than us.
They were lower than us. Okay.
So it's just, like, a freaky thing. And, I mean, that's totally why. I mean, if people did survive in the cities, which I kind of feel like they wouldn't, if that's, like, the epicenter of the nuke, right? Then I completely agree that it would just turn into fucking Mad Max out here, especially with all the yeehaw influences.
Why does yeehaw influence point towards Mad Max? Because it's like gun violence? Is that the angle that you're going?
No, I'm just saying that they have the equipment for it.
The trucks and the guns and the
right, exactly.
lassos,
sure.
Fucking bomb spears.
Well, and the knowledge too.
They have knowledge.
They have much more the knowledge of living out where they do. You know,
yeah.
So it's kind of their game, their home court, if you will.
Yeah. But so what? Obviously, I mean, if you were able to subsist in a tunnel, we kind of talked about what that looks like. If you're subsisting out in the rural whatever, do you think it's going to be nomadic? Right? Because nuclear winter, again, you can't really grow crops. So I think you're moving around more than anything. I think it's very zombie apocalypse without the zombies.
Right.
But the thing is you still have to avoid population centers because that's where theoretically the nukes hit. Theoretically, there's the highest concentration of radiation. So you're raiding small town Walmarts. You're raiding mom and pop like gas stations and shit like that. But how long does that keep you going?
Right. Well, and especially because you start to, I mean, it has to be nomadic, especially mostly where we live, because the environment, even in this like normalcy, doesn't provide many resources. The lack of water, especially, because...
Well, I think that you move states. Like, I think you just take off.
Yeah, because what the fuck are you going to do? I mean, nothing. You don't have
anything.
Much, if anything.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to go somewhere else.
Well, the cool thing about where we are is the mountain range is going to defend us from the LA nightmare.
Right.
You know? So, if you could live in those mountains... But again, if you're talking nuclear winter, it's the same thing that we're seeing with global warming in reverse, right? So instead of the global temperature approaching an increase of 2 degrees, we're getting dropped back down to like -3, which is fucking scary, right? I mean, even with global warming, you've seen the winters that we can have here. Now imagine like a Donner Party winter every year.
Right. That's fucking insane.
Right.
Shout out to the Donner Party.
Shout out to the Donner Party. Basically, the apocalypse would suck, but I think people would probably stop and try to make homesteads, or at least some kind of like bunker situation, like somewhere where you could hole up.
Especially at first, because because people don't want to be nomadic. I feel like, especially since they've lived that way their whole lives of being in one place.
I think people would figure it out pretty quickly, though, and then once they, you know, get away from the idea of having a more nuclear family in the nuclear home, right?
Right.
The nomadic phase of humanity in rural areas lasts only so long because where are you going to keep getting gasoline?
Right.
Right. So we're talking trucks and stuff like that. I mentioned motorcycles earlier, but let's say it's, I mean, a conservative estimate is probably 40 miles to the gallon. I don't really know. I've heard that of some motorcycles. I don't know if that's true of most of them. Let's walk it back, say 30, because that's still pretty crazy.
My car's like 28.
Right. So 30 miles to the gallon on a tank that's probably 3 gallons, something like that. How big is a motorcycle gas tank?
I don't...
Use the power of technology. But, I mean, again, you can only carry so much gas with you if you are on a motorcycle, if we're trying to be as efficient as possible. And if it's even only a couple of gallons at 30 miles to the gallon, and that's assuming highway speed the entire time, you're only getting, 150 miles on a 5-gallon tank?
2 to 8 gallons.
Yeah. So 5 is a good estimate then. So you're getting 150 miles. No. 5 gallons times 30. Yeah, 150.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 150 miles, which is not... It's not short, but it's not a long distance.
Well, and we can't go west.
Right. So you have to go north, south, or east.
South probably is not a good bet because that's also California.
Right.
North...
Well, and Vegas.
Right, and Vegas, which probably could also be an epicenter. North would probably be okay, but it gets fucking colder.
Right.
And east is just...
Wasteland.
Fucking Nevada desert.
Yeah.
What do you do in Nevada desert? You die.
You die.
Let's go to the Rubies.
All right. Catch all those fish that I was just talking about. They all just have 3 eyes now.
Yeah.
All right.
At The Simpsons.
At The Simpsons. So that thing has like 48 eyes, I thought.
I thought it was 3.
All right.
But
I'm not a big Simpsons fan. I couldn't
neither.
tell you. Yeah, so I think you have to go east, which means you're moving towards Middle America. There is theoretically more food because it is the breadbasket if you get far enough. But before you get to that, you have to get through the Rockies.
Right. Which...
You better hope it's summer on your fucking motorcycle, and you better hope there aren't, like, chaotic crashes in the road that have blocked the road.
Right.
Because I don't know how strong you are, but I'm not lifting a fucking motorcycle. Right? And if you have your family packed into your SUV, Stacy, you're not getting up there either.
Yeah.
So
let me tell you what, fucking Stacy.
Stacy.
Your kids, they're dead.
Eat your children, Stacy. Or let your children eat you.
Right. But, I mean, depending out on how old they are, it's like they probably won't survive anyway.
Yeah,
so.
you know. Might as well just eat them.
I guess maternal instinct is a thing, but, you know, can't relate. So.
Yeah.
What
else? What other... How quickly do you think it'd be... Like, do you think it would lean more towards wanton violence? Or do you think it'd be people still being reasonable and remembering the society that they had been a part of 3 days ago and trying to band together?
I think over time it just turns into a shit show.
Yeah.
Like, at first, people are trying to be reasonable even though they just experienced trauma.
Right.
But they're trying to be like, okay, let's find somewhere. But as time goes on and you see the kind of hopelessness of the situation.
Well, it's really hard to be reasonable when you're all hungry and there's one can of food.
Right. Exactly. And I'm assuming, well, I don't know if communications would be down, but I kind of feel like they would be. You know, and like, you're completely cut off from the life you had before, and there are strangers, and people are dangerous anyway, and this is just going to exacerbate them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so as you witness tragedy and experience loss and hunger and dehydration, I mean, it only gets more violent.
Yeah.
Unless you're actually able to kind of create a successful society.
Well, stability is food, shelter, water. So if you can provide people that, then theoretically there will be a stable society.
Right.
We've already talked about how food would be extremely hard to come by. Shelter would probably be fine because if you're finding middle American towns that are not blown up to fuck, then there are still houses, right? There's nothing wrong with those houses. And then there's water, which gets to be a really dangerous game because it might be fine, it might kill you when you drink it.
Right.
And it's not a taste, it's not a smell, it's just death.
Death, yeah, you just might die.
Yeah.
Which, if you are able to get the basic necessities for humans, there, I think, has to immediately be rules.
Right.
Because you have to divide it up equally. So whatever surrounds those resources, there will be rules put in place. And then, therefore, the kind of society will form.
There's a fuck ton of guns, too.
Right.
Because do you function in like a communist way? Do you still try to provide a capitalistic system where you use money or bullets, or is it a bartering system?
I thought it was going to be more like everybody gets a cup of water.
A ration, yeah.
Yeah, ration.
Okay, so more of like a communist, everyone gets the same.
Right. But I think that leaders often naturally arise in a situation.
True.
And therefore, depending on who they are and who surrounds them again, surrounds the leadership, there's going to be kind of like well, I found the water, so I should get more kind of situation.
Right. Well, that's how, you know, those Bill Wirtz videos, like the history of Japan and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not a historian per se, but this is what I took away from that, is that when agriculture started in human history, that it was, hey, we can make food. It's not just about finding it anymore. Okay, but I make the food, so I should have a better position or a higher place in society than the person who just eats the food, right? So from the very basis of our ecology, I guess, if you want to say, that has been a thing. So you're right. I think it'll happen again. Right. Except this time, instead of, you know, rice, it's going to be mushrooms or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever can fucking survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Obesity will go way down.
True. Yeah, because...
Obesity crisis solved with nukes.
That's it, everyone.
Done.
That's the whole lesson. You want to lose some weight, you better hope for a nuke.
There you go.
That's the only solution.
It'll cure you right quick. Yeah, but I mean, I think that the nuclear apocalypse is one of the dirtier ones that could happen, both literally and metaphorically.
Especially because it seems so real.
Right. Well, it's probably the most realistic one that is present outside, you know, of aliens and zombies and other things that we've talked about. Yeah, it's not a good one. Definitely not a good one.
Well, everybody, here's your lesson. You better hope not.
Yeah, basically hope that the Iron Dome protects you, that we don't have nukes fall on American soil, or really anywhere in the world, because if it goes on anywhere, it's going to fuck us up in some capacity or another. And hope you guys are getting real good at growing mushrooms and murdering.
Yep. Make sure to practice those skills.
Thank you, everyone, for listening today. If you would like to listen to more of our stuff, you can find us wherever you're listening to us now, presumably Spotify. Is there another place that we actually...
Spotify, Stitcher,
YouTube. We have communities on Reddit, on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, like we said. And you can find more content there. If you want to ask us a question, you can contact us on any of those platforms, or you can send it directly to our email that we have set up for questions. That email is hypotheticalsiblings@gmail.com. That's hypothetical, HYPOTHETICAL, siblings, SIBLINGS, @gmail.com.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all so much. We'll see you next week.